Me and Jake running down the street with a handful of comic books, kicking ass and banging chicks and drinking booze
No, not
and
me.
smoking
Not
weed.
me. I'm married.
Yeah, well,
I'm married.
Jake.
Can't do that.
Yeah. Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Off Panel, Off Topic. This is a big situation. We're back in the Man Cave studio. Our third guest, but it's hard to say she's a guest because she lives here where the Man Cave studio is. But the love of my life, the love of my life, my lovely wife, the mother of my children, Ashley, I guess technically, legally, it's Burbridge.
I'll change it at some point.
Yeah, well, it's expensive changing their name because you got to change your license. You got to change your name in general. You got to change your Social Security, all that shit.
Yeah, we also need to get. There's just a lot to it, and let's be real, I'm just lazy.
Well, I know that you're my wife. I feel like that should be enough. Anyway, I got
other things going on in my life right now.
Yeah, this is only the second time we've ever podcasted together. We've been together 8 years. First time was back in the day when I used to do the Underachievers podcast, and now, all these years later, we're doing Off Panel, Off Topic. And we could argue this is episode 22 and a half. That's what I've been calling the episodes when Tyler's not in them. Usually when I do them by myself. I mean, this could be technically a full episode because there's two of us talking, but whatever.
I'm only a half to you. I'm not as worthy as Tyler is.
Well, you take that up with Tyler. But this will be the third podcast I've recorded for this show in 2 days. Because we recorded 2 yesterday, which one's already up right now on podcast services around the globe. And then this one will go up later today. And then we already have, because, it's the Thanksgiving week. A lot of things happening. We just wanted to make sure we were ahead of the times and got everything out on time. But that's enough about me. Today, we're going to be doing another movie review. And now, a fun fact about this episode. I tried to get Ashley to do an episode sooner, but she said no. I tried to get her to do Halloween Kills with me because she saw it in the theater with me. But why didn't you want to talk about Halloween Kills?
I didn't have as much of an opinion about that one, maybe.
You actually... Well,
I don't talk as much as you do. I don't know if you've ever noticed that.
Yeah, I understand.
I try to keep my opinions to myself, generally.
I had a moment of clarity when I was talking to. I'm sure we'll be future guests on the show. I was talking to Chance and Sparks, and I was talking about the MCU, and I was saying I'm getting worried because there's like 16 Disney Plus shows, MCU Disney Plus shows, and I'm like, that's just too much to catch up with. And Sparks goes, you're a content creator, that's a gold mine for you. And I'm like, yeah, but I just want to watch things and watch them and not podcast about them. He's like, well, you kind of already dug that hole for yourself.
You make podcasts based on all of the shit you watch. Don't act like that's not like...
It's by... Yeah, I know. It's by design. Well, most of the time I want to talk about this. Like Ghostbusters Afterlife. The first thing I thought of was like, man, I can't wait to do a pod about this because I want to talk about it. So... that's what we are talking about today. This review will be, of course, about Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, before we get into it, of course, how we do reviews on this show is we give you some of our spoiler-free thoughts, what we thought about the movie kind of on a base level, and then we give you a little bit of time to listen to that, and then we jump right into the spoilers so you can stop listening and go watch the movie, or if you don't care about spoilers, keep listening. So, spoiler-free thoughts. Ashley, you're the guest. So, what did you think about Ghostbusters Afterlife on a spoiler-free basis?
As a fan of the originals, I've seen the second one quite a few times.
The second one
it was one of my sister's favorites, so I have seen it a lot.
Your older sister or your younger sister? Or I guess you're the baby, aren't you?
Lauren.
Yeah.
Lauren loves.
Well, I
that
didn't know
one
if we
for
want
some
to
reason. I don't know why.
Put her name out there. Because I'm worried if your mom listens to this, because I already swore already. She won't listen to this.
I don't think.
Yeah. It's okay. Nobody listens. It's fine. I will say this. Sorry to interrupt, but I do think that Ghostbusters 2 gets too much hate. Ghostbusters 1 is clearly the better movie.
I think the remake gets too much hate.
I think the 2016 one?
Yes, because I feel like the remake being made gave way to this one because it opened the door of you could make a new Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters 2016 walked so that Afterlife could run.
Yes.
Oh yeah, because whether because I don't think there is such thing as bad, good press is, bad press is any press. Whatever. I don't remember the fucking phrase. Any press is good press is the phrase. That's what I was thinking of. So I do think you're right in an aspect of, even though it got such negative reaction, it still was a reaction for Sony, and it was still had people talking about it.
Yes, and it also introduced Ghostbusters to a new generation, being as how later on it was. I mean, obviously, so then it makes this one is very much fan based.
Yeah.
If you loved the first movies, you will like this one because it's so much nostalgia to it.
It's fan service, the movie.
Yes. And people are like, is it too much fan service? I feel like because of the hate that remake got,
yeah,
you almost had to make it the way it was. You had to make it fan service because so many people hated the remake.
And that's also kind of funny because I was talking to Tyler about this, where because of the 2016 movie, I wasn't that excited about this one. When I saw the first trailer, I wasn't really impressed with it. And
the first trailer didn't really hook me that much.
And then after the second trailer, I was like, okay.
Was it Paul Rudd? It was Paul Rudd for me.
It's always Paul Rudd.
It's always Paul Rudd.
Yeah, but I think after the second trailer is when I started to come around to seeing it. And there's also this thing, too, because, look, I wasn't a fan of the 2016 version, but I'm also someone that I didn't...
You don't like... any of those
I didn't like half the cast. I like...
I love them. I love Kate McKinnon. I like their humor, which if you don't like them, you're not going to like that movie.
And, well, to me... Is
it a cinematic masterpiece? By no means is it. But
it also felt...
It was enjoyable. I don't know.
It also felt like a Judd Apatow version of Ghostbusters. And I know that Judd Apatow isn't like a producer on it. I know it's a Paul Feig movie. But it definitely has that Apatow sensibility to it, that style of movie where it's like, okay, there's your funny comedic actors, let's let these scenes roll, let's keep going. But then sometimes I'm like, just cut the fucking scene. Like there were several times and I was like, okay, we got the jokes in, let's cut, and then the scene would go on and I'm like, why are you still going?
Would it have changed your mind if it wasn't who was in it, if it was like your Judd Apatow's, if it was like Seth Rogen, your Jay Baruchel? How do you say his name? You know
Baruchel?
Yeah, that guy.
And like Jonah Hill.
Yeah. Would that have changed your mind about it?
No, because I feel like I would have been I don't want to see Seth Rogen and Jonah Hill in a Ghostbusters.
So you didn't want a Ghostbusters remake. You wanted a sequel. You wanted the love letter that came out.
Maybe that's the thing. But I was also someone that even when it was announced, before they even announced anybody that was cast in it, I was annoyed because I'm like, why are we making a Ghostbusters remake? And we had this conversation. I've had this conversation with friends too about this movie because honestly, Ghostbusters 2016 is not bad. It's not a bad movie. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And you and I watched it together, and there's parts where I laughed and I had a good chuckle, but I was just like, this is not like. You were like, this isn't really vibing with me.
It's an okay movie. Like I watched it and I enjoyed parts of it. Do I love all of it? No, I'm not a huge fan of Leslie Jones. She's a little much for me. But I mean, it's just that's my opinion.
Yeah, I want to make it very clear that I'm not sexist, is what I was trying to get across, because there are sexist people. But no, I do think that even if it were like a Seth Rogen or something like that, I just don't know if I would have liked it either way, because I was someone who was against it. But then again, this is what I love about human beings. We're such hypocrites. Because the minute I actually saw the second trailer of this, I was like, oh, maybe I do want to see another Ghostbusters movie. But I think you're right. I think it was more of I wanted a sequel and not a reboot or a remake. But yeah, do we think that it was worth the wait? Worth all this time between Ghostbusters 2 to Afterlife? I think it was worth the wait. I really enjoyed this movie.
I really enjoyed it too. I feel like it is almost like a new generation. Like you almost had to wait this long to bring it back, because it's like all of the kids of the people that watched it originally are they get to watch it now, and it's like their Ghostbusters.
And this one really drove home it's a family movie.
Yes. Very heartfelt, very family-oriented, for sure.
It has its spooky moments, but it's not too... And it very much is trying to go for a kid. And there were a good amount of kids in the audience. We heard them at the movie. I talked about our movie experience in the last episode of the show. Man. And I felt bad as I was talking because there was a girl and a family next to it, like a few seats away from us, and she like did these like little golf claps every time she liked something. I was talking to Tyler about it. And we were laughing because I was like, I don't want to be a dick and be like, oh wow, like let's stop, because I hate clapping in movie theaters. It's not the theater. They don't come out and take a bow when the movie's over. I don't like clapping. But then I was also like, you know what? She's having fun. She's enjoying herself at the movie theater. I don't mind if she does little golf claps.
Hey, man, if I have to sit next to you eating popcorn as loud as you do, you can handle the girl next to you.
It was better than
clapping.
that fucking family who came in like 5 minutes after the movie started and was trying to find their seats.
Right in front of us.
Which is why Flicks, and Tyler and I talked about this, is why Flicks is right in their policies and not letting people in after like 10 minutes before the movie or something. Because it's the same like you go to a hockey game and people are standing up when the puck's in play. It's just annoying. But no, I do think it was worth the wait. I think absence makes the heart grow fonder. I do think that it is kind of funny because I do think you're right. I think Sony kind of made that Paul Feig Ghostbusters movie this sacrificial lamb to be like, hey, people might not like it, but is there still some box office interest in this franchise? Because if you think about it, Sony has Spider-Man, Ghostbusters, Men in Black. That's about it in terms of their big franchises. Because Sony...
So Columbia Pictures is owned by Sony.
Yeah. And so when you think... And that's the thing. Sony isn't as big as Warner Brothers or Disney. So they're kind of banking on Ghostbusters and Spider-Man to kind of carry them, which I would argue, maybe make some original stuff. But, it is what it is. I thought it was interesting that they did more of a rule setting for this. And I kind of like that they didn't go for being in New York City and they did something a little bit more...
small town.
Smaller stakes. I mean, not by the end of the movie, but yeah, I like the idea of having a more rule setting.
Was it cheaper to not destroy New York again, do you think?
Maybe. I would say COVID, but this movie was done. Like... Because the first trailer came out, like this was supposed to come out in summer 2020. So I don't think COVID impacted this, unless they did some reshoots, which maybe they did. But because I was going to say that maybe COVID was like the idea of the rule setting was done because of like it made it easier during COVID. But that movie was way in pre-production and all that before any of that stuff happened. But then I wonder. The Walmart scene, which this isn't spoiling anything because this is in the trailer. I'm wondering if the Walmart scene was done during COVID or like a COVID reshoot because there was nobody in that friggin' store. When Paul Rudd is getting his ice cream and shit, there's nobody in that store.
I mean, it was late at night.
I guess that could be the justification because it was. But I just thought that was funny because I'm like, really? Nobody is in Walmart at this time?
I think the rule setting makes sense when you talk about where like the mine and whatnot, but that's a spoiler, so
yeah, we'll get into that. And then just a few more spoiler thoughts. Or spoiler free thoughts? Do you think that this was satisfying, like a good? Because we've been waiting for years for a satisfying third Ghostbusters movie in the main. Well, technically the fourth now, but in the main canon, we've been looking for a solid Ghostbusters movie. Do you think it's it holds up with the other movies?
I feel like it's almost because of who the director is, since his father directed the first ones. I feel like it is almost,
and he has a huge involvement in this too.
Yes, I feel like it's almost like a love letter to the first two movies versus being like a sequel. It brings back so much of the first ones and all the stuff people loved about them.
It really did go for the Force Awakens approach.
Yeah.
But I'm not comparing it to Force Awakens because this movie actually has a definitive... It isn't cut and paste the same movie.
No.
But it spoiler free, it pulls a lot from the plot of the first movie.
Yes.
But it doesn't beat you over the head as the same beats. I mean, there are some of the same beats in this, but there is a lot of there's more nuance and different things in this movie. And I think I don't think it is full on Force Awakens, but I do agree that it is Sony being like, okay, look, you didn't like what we tried the last time. Okay, what if we bring back the son of the director of the first movie? And also it's money, because Jason Reitman hasn't done shit since I can't even think of the last movie he directed. I think there was, I want to say Up in the Air, maybe the one with George Clooney that they filmed in Omaha back in the day. 2012, I think, was his last movie.
Seriously, that's been a minute.
He hasn't made a movie in a while.
Hold on.
But anyway, I think that this, and it's funny that I go back to Star Wars in this, but it does feel like it's a absolutely a Force Awakens thing. It's like, okay, we're gonna make a Ghostbusters for the next generation. We got to acknowledge the past. We got to move this forward, and we have to do it. We have to do it in the right way. It's just complicated. I think it's smart that
He's done several movies since then.
When was the last one?
Well, other than the home movie of The Princess Bride that they did last year, The Front Runner with Hugh Jackman.
Oh, I like that. I actually really like that movie a lot.
Yeah, now you feel dumb, don't you?
No, I don't feel dumb because that movie didn't make shit for box office. So that's why he's back doing Ghostbusters. Okay.
He's in a lot of Charlize Theron movies. The Ron movies. He's totally young adult. But yeah, before that, Up in the Air, he did take a little bit of break there.
Didn't he do Juno?
Yes.
Juno. Maybe I don't like that movie because they made Jason Bateman a dick in that movie.
Yeah, because you love Jason Bateman.
Because Jason Bateman is a treasure and must be protected at all costs. What made me laugh is I was sitting there watching. I think it was he's doing car commercials now. He's like VOing car commercials now. And I think it was like Hyundai or something. I was like, man, I traded my car now. If it's good enough for Jason Bateman, it's good enough for me.
You know what else is good enough for Jason Bateman?
What?
Selling and laundering money. So I think that's good.
You're talking about Ozark?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's move to Missouri.
Hard pass.
No. You know what's funny is everybody that I've met from Missouri says don't fucking live in Missouri. Misery, as they call it. So wrapping up our spoiler-free thoughts. I love the cast of this movie.
Same.
McKenna
Grace
she does a great job as
Phoebe.
As Phoebe, the essentially the Egon stand-in, because she's so much like him, and the hairstyle, the glasses, she's a genius. Like, I think I think it was smart to rest the movie on her shoulders.
Yeah.
And that's a lot to ask for a child actor, a franchise coming back, but she's
done a lot of work though.
Yeah, but it's just I like the fact that they went with a kid to rest this on, and it plays back into that family approach and moving the story forward in generations forward. Finn Wolfhard's great; he's always great. He it's really weird seeing him grow up. Because I always will look at him
he's got a real hard mustache shadow too. And
yeah,
I was like,
and it's so weird to hear his voice be deeper. And I'm like, wow, man, you forget how
Stranger Things 4 is going to be weird because there's been a lot of time in between those seasons.
Because Millie or Bobby Brown. Why did I say Millie?
It's Millie Bobby Brown.
Oh yeah, she's grown up. She's definitely matured. Like he's clearly teenagers at this point, so you're gonna have to time jump with this show. But I think he was great. Who was the mom? Because I liked her a lot too.
Carrie Coon.
I feel like I've seen her in other stuff, but I think she does. Honestly, the whole cast is great in this movie. Of course, Paul. We are at the point though that
she was in The Leftovers.
Oh, I've never seen that, but I've seen her in like promotional stuff for that. But I do love that we're at the point now that Paul Rudd just shows up in movies and just does Paul Rudd stuff.
She was in Avengers.
What?
In Infinity War.
There's even bigger MCU connections now?
It's all MCU. There's so many MCU. There's no way that you don't have a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon in the MCU.
Oh yeah, there's no way you can't. You don't have 6 degrees of MCU. Paul Rudd is interesting because they kind of went the opposite direction. Because Paul Rudd, no spoilers. He's kind of. I think of him as kind of the Rick Moranis.
Proxima Midnight.
She's Proxima Midnight?
That's what it says.
Well, she's only the voice because Proxima Midnight's like CG.
Well, I'm just telling you.
That's crazy.
When I googled her, that's what it says.
Wow, I would have never pulled that. But Paul Rudd's character definitely feels more of like the Rick Moranis stand-in.
Yeah.
The kind of goofy, likable character.
He is technically. I mean.
Well, yeah, we'll get to spoiler. Which, by the way, no, I guess that'll be more spoilers. So we'll get into spoilers now because we've been tiptoeing around it for about 20 minutes. So yeah, overall, our thoughts. I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was worth going to. If you need to get away from your family on Thanksgiving, this is a perfect movie to get away from your family. Or if you want to take your family to a movie, this is a great movie to do that.
Do you think you need to watch the first movie before you see this movie?
I think yes, because I feel like a lot of the story beats, a lot of the Easter eggs will only hit if you've seen the first movie. Now, like,
could you understand it without seeing the first one though?
Yeah, but why are you? My thought is, why are you watching this if you haven't?
I know, it's such fan service that you're
honestly
losing out if you don't watch the first one.
I do think you could watch it without seeing the first movie. But why would you?
You wouldn't enjoy it as much.
No, it is fan service. The movie. It's 2 hours of fan service. And by the way, it moved pretty well too, pacing wise.
The beginning is a little slow.
Yeah, when they get in the house, it's kind of slow. But once the plot starts,
but it just has to build up the family, the family dynamic.
There's a
reason.
There's a sequence that happens that kind of kicks it off, and then after that, it kind of just goes at a breakneck speed. So let's do it. All right, everybody listening, you have a countdown now. I'm going to give you a 3, 2, 1, and then we're going into spoilers, okay? 3, 2, 1. Spoilers. Did we really need a CGI Harold Ramis?
Yes.
I'm just kidding. We'll get to that. I want to get to that. Well,
maybe it's a little much. But
okay, we're going to kind of jump around anyway.
No. We got to start at the beginning.
Yeah. So what do we think about them going back to the plot of the first movie? Zool's trying to come back. Gozer. Right. There's only Zool.
Yes.
Gozer.
Are you a god?
Why did they? And that's okay. There's a couple things too. Why is it? Apparently, Jason Reitman just really likes J.K. Simmons because he's like, "Hey, man, you want this random cameo spot in my Ghostbusters movie?"
Like J.K. Simmons?
That's a great question. And then, why the hell is Olivia Wilde?
Because she's hot.
Gozer.
She's got great cheekbones for that. Anyway.
Also, is Gozer supposed to be fucking Bowie? Is that always what? Because it looked like Bowie in the first movie.
Wasn't he covered in bubbles in the first one?
It was Sigourney Weaver in the first one, wasn't it?
No.
She wasn't.
No.
Well, I know that she was the keymaster,
yes.
or the gatekeeper, whichever one.
Person. Sigourney Weaver is a dog at that point. That would have been real confusing. But why the hell is she going
anyway,
now?
what do you? Because clearly this is I can see how some people might have an issue with this being the first movie's plot, because then it definitely feels like straight up just being like, again, The Force Awakens are like, we're just going to do the first movie over again, but 20 years later, and it's a new family, and but I think there's enough to make it different.
Well, it's all based around the mine that, the guy's name, what is the guy's name?
Egon?
No.
Do you mean
the guy, the architect that built the building in the first movie?
J.K. Simmons' character.
Yes. Anyway, he used the selenium from the mine. So technically the mine is the first, so.
Who was there before the New York stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
He built the temple there, mined, took all the selenium, made the building.
I don't mind them going back to the first movie. Because while they never reference the second movie, they also don't. it was never said before the movie came out that this ignores the second movie and just says it doesn't exist. But at the same time, this movie never references it. And you and I were talking about this before we started recording. I feel like the Statue of Liberty walking would be a big deal.
Yeah, that would have been a YouTube video for sure.
I feel like that would take precedent over them talking about them roasting the marshmallow, because they always talk about the Stay Puft Marshmallow stuff when they talk about the ghosts attacking New York in 1984. But you would feel like it'd be like, oh yeah, remember that time the Statue of Liberty just got up and was walking to "Your Love Is Lifting Me Higher"?
Your love.
No, but I think there was enough differences to make it okay. So I wasn't that upset with the whole Keymaster Gatekeeper Zool Gozer stuff. Because again, at the end of the day, it's like I was thinking this in the movie theater when there were some times when I could be cynical and be like the movie critic podcaster being like, well, this is the plot hole here. I ignored that because I was having a good time. I was having fun with the movie. So I was like, I don't care about, well, how did the Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters, just show up here? I don't fucking care. I'm enjoying this movie. You know what I mean?
How about we talk about the fact that her friend podcast is literally going to be our child.
I was going to mention that when we talk about the cast. The kid who plays podcast is so damn good in this movie.
I feel like
it was me.
McKenna and the kid that played podcast, I guess I don't know what his name is. They carried that movie.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Phoebe and podcast are the heart and soul.
They pulled in Finn Wolfhard and Paul Rudd just to purely be like, ooh, I know those people, but like I don't know, like I didn't really feel like he was much in that movie other than to help the sister.
Yeah, and
not saying that he didn't do a good job.
And yeah, it's true. Podcast and Phoebe are the heart and soul of that movie. And it works because they're so good together. Like, they're funny. Like, Podcast was a legitimately fun.
Logan Kim. That is Podcast's name.
Because it's so, and again, that shows you the ability of those two actors, because it takes a lot to take a franchise like Ghostbusters and say, we're going to put it on the shoulders of these two kids. And of course, yeah, Podcast is going to be our son. Like, there's no getting around it. Especially because I was like watching him and I was like, ooh, nice shotgun mic, is what I thought. When he pulled out the mic, I'm like, damn, the kid's got a shotgun mic and a rig. Like, look at this kid. And I'm thinking, God, that's me.
Are you jealous? Are you jealous of the kid?
Have you seen the Man Cave Studio? I'm doing all right for myself. No, yeah, the whole time I'm watching that, I was like, that's just amazing that they have a kid named Podcast. And it's like, because that is smart, because that appeals to stuff now. If I were a teenager or a kid watching this, I'd be like, oh, that's me. I understand. Like, even as an adult, even almost 30, I connected with that kid right away, because I'm like, I've been that kid. I am still that kid. You know what I mean? Except for he has a much better setup. I was just like recording myself on my phone and I used to make like weird like parody ads, and I would record them on my mom's flip phone. I would record my voice memos. And let me tell you, terrible quality. Not very good speakers back then.
It's like when you're trying to get a ringtone off the radio. It wasn't quite as good.
Did your parents ever tell you how they would make mixtapes? Like the process behind it? It seems so. So the whole idea was you'd try and wait for a song to come on the radio. Because it would be the radios with the cassette deck in them. Put it in, record it from the radio, and then stop the recording, so then you have that song, and then wait, and then try and find another song to put on the mixtape. And then
like finding or getting a ringtone on your phone.
Right. And then you think about it, and then when it came to our generation, we were just burning CDs. We were literally doing the same concept.
Had to steal it off of stuff. LimeWire.
Yeah.
Napster.
Just
Napster. Fucking Napster.
That meme of when you give your computer AIDS just to get free music. It's true.
Gosh, our internet was too slow for that.
Man, you want to talk about the Wild Wild West. It was LimeWire, FrostWire. Yeah. I also have to say, how did this movie make the Ecto-1 so damn cool? Because I remember watching those original movies, and the Ecto-1, to me was a punchline. It was just like the weird sound, and then I should have had that on my soundboard. And it really wasn't that cool to me. I was just like, it's iconic, sure.
Well, they pull it off the cartoons. Cartoons is a gunner seat.
Oh, right. See, I never
love letters.
See, I never watched. I never really. Well, did you watch Ghostbusters? Or did you watch the real Ghostbusters? Because there was 2.
Did you ever play the video game?
Because Egon has blonde hair in the real Ghostbusters.
Yeah. You know how I know that? I've never actually seen it.
I never really watched the Ghostbuster
but
cartoons
we have a
either.
Viewmaster of scenes from the real Ghostbusters where Egon's hair is blonde.
Yeah.
So that's how I know. I reference that. That's what I know what it looks like.
I think you're a bigger Ghostbusters fan than I am. And I'm be honest, I'm not that big of a fan.
I got siblings born in the 80s, man.
Well, you've met my father. That's what we would do is watch 80s movies. So that's how I watch Ghostbusters.
You've met my father.
Yeah.
I feel like our dads would have been like real best buds.
Yeah. I just thought it was funny that yeah, but that's what I mean, is I didn't know that. So that's a cool little nod to somebody that did watch the cartoons. I didn't know there was a friggin' gunner seat in the Ecto-1. And you seen the shot in the trailer where she's in the gunner seat.
I'm pretty sure they didn't have the little drone guy though.
No, the remote thing's probably got to be new.
Little racer car.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Is like I was shocked that they actually made the Ecto-1 a cool car. I was like, oh, there's a gunner seat, and then like I love the idea that it had the little trap door for the RC car to go into. Like they actually. I feel like they did more than the movies did in making me being like, oh shit, that's the Ecto-1. Even though in the first movie when it's revealed, it's like, oh, it's a cool reveal, and then the dun, 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 the music and all like the montages. But like this movie makes the Ecto-1 look badass, and I was like, oh.
That's because people these days love a car chase, so they had to make the car cool.
And let's be honest, there aren't, other than the third act, there aren't a lot of big set pieces. So I think that was like one of the main set piece was like we got to get the car and we got to get the gunner seats and that was also the way to like show to the town like, hey, these are the Ghostbusters.
You also couldn't have an Ecto-1 with the gunner seat in the middle of New York City, which pulls in the rule setting.
Yeah,
you would have destroyed a lot of shit.
Yeah, I think, and then going back to the rule setting, I think that's what made me like this movie was that it was so different than the first 2 movies in the sense of, yeah, let's do a smaller story. Let's do a family-oriented story about this stuff. And then in the third act, we got to be... That's one of my big gripes with this movie is the third act, but that's my gripe with any movie that comes out now.
Too rushed?
It feels like every other third act. It's the big thing, the big giant CGI fight that happens in every movie now. It's like...
So you're upset that every movie ends with a climax? In a resolution?
No, it's not that. It's just every movie has the same climax is what I'm saying. And it's not the movie's fault. It's us. It's the audience because that's what we want.
Would you have felt differently? Well, no, because that would have been big. What if the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man came back? The big one, though. Not the little guys. The little guys are
see, now I feel like that would have been too much. I think they were smart. And, hey, props to this movie for having the unbelievable restraint to not play that fucking song until the end of the movie. Like, I was shocked. We didn't even... Because I don't even think we even got, like, little tones of the song. Like, different notes, different styles.
I did love how at the beginning of the whole movie, though, they play those chords that were in the library scene.
Yeah, because I was like, that sounded familiar. But I didn't know what that... Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
They actually got... I was reading stuff earlier about this. They actually got the lady
You came prepared.
I did. The lady that played... It was like a specific instrument. No, I can't remember what it was. But they got her to come back.
It was the kazoo.
It's not a kazoo.
What if it was, though? Like, come on. That would
different movie.
What a story.
That wouldn't be like, ooh, scary ghost. It'd be like, the fuck is coming? No.
It's an alert.
They got her to come back anyway and to play that over again.
That's awesome. See, that's the little shit like that I love. The little nods.
See? Love letter. A love letter to Ghostbusters.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Why are you saying it like I'm disagreeing with you?
Because I feel like the other night you were like, meh. Your first reaction, you were kind of like, meh.
I could understand how you might
I'm
not.
over here crying, and you're just like, meh.
I could understand how you thought I didn't like it because I was kind of muted in my response. But the more I've thought about it, getting ready to do this, I loved it. I really did. And I totally agree with you. It is worth going to see at a theater. It is worth seeing on a big screen. Like I said, Thanksgiving, perfect timing. They knew what they were doing. If you want to escape your family or go with your family, this is the movie to do it. But yeah, the Ecto one was dope. I was surprised. I want to go on a tangent while you're looking that up. Can we talk about Muncher? So Muncher, rather than just bring back Slimer, which again, I'm surprised they didn't do.
Well,
I'm surprised they didn't bring back Slimer.
It would almost be, if like Slimer came with, it would have to be like he's like buddies with.
Yeah.
Like at that point, like why would Slimer be there?
Hot take.
Also, they would have destroyed Slimer in the first movie.
Flaming hot take. Flaming hot take. I don't like Slimer. I don't like Muncher. They're not ghosts. How are these glob things ghosts? Tell me how they're ghosts. Make it make sense, movie.
They're ectoplasm.
What is ectoplasm?
I don't know. I'm just
Ghost jizz?
gross.
Your face. Gross. No, Muncher. So here's my problem with it, because you and I had this chat as well. Josh Gad is the voice of Muncher.
Ivo Shandor. That's the mine guy. The J.K. Simmons.
I would be like, hey, cool, Josh Gad's going to voice the characters. Does that mean he has lines? No! Muncher just munches.
No, he like screams and stuff.
Then get some random voice actor. Why? Josh Gad is like Chris Pratt. Josh Gad is the Chris Pratt of animated movies, and now Chris Pratt's taking that from Josh Gad, where he just shows up randomly. Like, why is Josh Gad in this movie? Why is he the Muncher guy?
What is this? It's like Odes Marnot.
That being said about Muncher, I do think it was cool that his like power set was, yeah, he eats the metal, but then he spits the metal back out like they're bullets, which I thought was a cool little touch. I like that a lot. But what did you think of? Also, Muncher worked on these people that we were seeing the movie with, because the girl or the family that was a few seats away from us, she was actually, and I told Tyler how I came around to the golf clapping and enjoyed myself, was because she was someone that was like me at wrestling shows, where I boo the bad guys, I cheer the good guys, I do all the things that the wrestling show wants to do. She was doing that for this movie. So there's a scene where Muncher is trying to, he gives them like puppy dog eyes, and the girl sitting a few seats from us literally made it like, aw sound.
He was cute.
And then he opens a fire extinguisher on them. So I liked. There's some things I just am frustrated because I'm like, why the hell is Josh Gad in this movie? He's not even making. He's just making sounds and then eating. Lame. Don't like it. Oh, maybe I'm being a curmudgeon, but I don't like.
I don't.
How do you like
so
how
upset about this?
Because
you didn't even know it was him until after.
Because Slimer, just narratively, Slimer and Muncher don't make any sense to me in these movies. Not even in the first movie. Even if you could say they're ecto ghosts or whatever. It's like, but why? Why?
Comedic relief.
I guess.
It's purely what that is.
They made it. They had another one too in this movie that shows up. He doesn't do anything, but there was like one with like
the eyeball.
One. It was like a cyclop looking one, or did he have? Yeah. So he's in it, but whatever. It's fine. It's serviceable.
Anyway, this instrument that this lady plays.
It took you a long time to find.
No, I was reading more into it because it's very interesting looking. It's like a keyboard attached to stuff. But it's just like literally just creating wave sounds.
So it sounds like an instrument I would like.
Yeah, I mean Daft Punk uses it sometimes in their music.
Make my.
It's used in a lot of science fiction and horror movies because of the noise that it makes. So
yeah, makes sense.
So
so it start like the beginning, like when they're getting the house and everything. That's her.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
They brought her back. That's such a great scene, the library scene in the first movie.
Get her! Yeah. So good. Well, then that's actually funny that you bring that up, because I was thinking about this too, and you and I were talking about this. the first movie actually has legitimately spooky parts in it. Like there's a lot. It's everybody associates it as a comedy, and they should because it's all these comedic actors. It's a funny movie, but there's actually legit like spooky stuff. Like the scene where the ghosts take over in New York, and I can't remember that fucking song, but there's a sweet song that plays underneath it. And like that whole sequence is very like gothic and spooky. And
the cab driver that's the ghost.
Yeah, and it's like that weird. It's gonna drive me.
That's almost like homage to the guy that at the coffee shop.
Yeah,
the same look.
Yeah, she pours him the cup, and he's like, "Air." And that's the thing I loved about this movie is there are legitimately like spooky things. Like nothing scared me. There was nothing like overly scary about it, but there were like legitimately cool like horror movie moments in the movie. And I think they did a good job of making the villain actually like scary, which I think was a big problem in the 2016 movie where they leaned full bore into the comedy and didn't really play with the like horror aspects like the first movie it does. And I think that's another reason why people don't like the second movie, because the second movie is a little bit goofier.
You thought Gozer was scary in this one?
No, but she was definitely intimidating. And I think like the dogs are scary.
The dogs are scary. The dogs are scary in the first one. I always thought that was scary.
Also, shout out to them having the balls to making at least a few scenes of this movie have those dogs be props. Like have them be like when he's eating the dog food, that's a puppet. Like there's no way that's CG.
Oh, for sure.
That's a real dog. And I was like, that was awesome. I love that they went back and played homage to that first movie and had a practical dog in there. That was pretty cool. So Paul Rudd's character, why we call him the Rick Moranis of this, is yes, he becomes one of the dogs, becomes either the gatekeeper or the keymaster, whatever. Which this is another thing I love about this movie, and the smart.
He's the keymaster because she asked, "Are you the keymaster?" When she like plays homage to the Sigourney Weaver, like she's got the dress.
Well, he should be. She's the woman's always the gatekeeper because she has a vagina. Come on. You know that's what it means. Don't look at me like that. Dan Aykroyd was the sick bastard who said, hey, let's have these dog-possessed people fuck. That was his idea, not mine.
I honestly, I don't know if it's just, being naive as a child, didn't realize that they had to have sex to open the gates.
Well, yeah. And did you forget when you were a child, did you not realize that he was getting a blowjob in the first movie?
I knew what that was. I wasn't that. But I didn't like...
But that's what I mean. You forget that's in the movie.
No.
Yeah, because he's a kid.
Super
you
not
don't.
Necessary.
It doesn't make sense.
Why is this in
Actually, Dan Aykroyd wrote the first movie. That's my point.
He wrote part of this one too.
And that's what I love about this is going back to the first movie, doing that, and then also addressing kind of the weird plot things in a very mature manner. They're like, when they talk about the gatekeeper and the keymaster, they're like, well, they have to meet formally. And I was like. And then there was a great bit from podcast. He was like, I think he's trying to bone your mom. I was like, that was pretty funny. And then the fact that she's like, yeah, it makes me want to, on the inside, I want to throw up, but I don't show my emotions or whatever. Yeah, okay. So, Phoebe almost shot a damn cop. Hold on. My dog's in the man cave studio. I want to see if I can get his dog sleep sounds. Oh, my mic won't go that far. I go to the shorter mic. He's cute. He's making sounds. He's having doggy dreams. But no, I love the dogs, how they looked, but I was I'm such an idiot because then you said it, and I was like, oh yeah, duh. Because when we see Paul Rudd, there's shots in the trailer where he's in Walmart, and then we see the little Stay Poofed marshmallow men, which surprisingly got very graphic because they're all popping.
Stay poofed?
Stay poofed.
Stay puffed?
Stay puffed. That's it. What's the difference?
How do you
stay puffed? Is it puffed? Stay puffed? Go see this. I don't know.
You go stay poofed.
Stay poofed? Yeah, you're right. It's puffed. Shout out to my wife. This is how dedicated she is. She's like, if I'm going to guest on this show, I'm going to have IMDb ready to roll on my phone. And she's got a Loot Crate exclusive that she somehow found at a Target. That's a Loot Crate shirt.
This is from JCPenney's.
No, but that's the thing. It has Loot Crate branding on it. So somehow somebody sold that to JCPenney and then you bought it somehow. But it's a Stay Puffed s'mores kit, and it's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. He's on fire.
He ain't afraid of no roast.
Nice.
Which is funny considering they
It's
climb on the grill and
that's
make
what I mean.
s'mores
They
with
roast themselves,
in
and maybe they were onto something with that Loot Crate shirt. But no, that sequence is, you saw most of it in the trailer, and there's a clip online of it. But the Stay Puft Marshmallow stuff, I was like, I thought it was cute. It's showing up again at the end. I was like, of course. Like, I was just, that's another thing too. This movie, I had so much fun with it. I didn't mind moments where I was like, yep. Like, we're checking boxes here towards the end of this movie. Check, and awesome. And I didn't mind that, but I loved the ways that these Stay Puft Marshmallow Men were killing each other. I'll be honest, it was pretty damn funny. Like when the one
they're just so happy about it.
Yeah, they don't realize. And I was thinking, I'm like, well, I mean, they probably don't feel pain. They're just marshmallows. They don't even care. But you saw the one where he lays down on the graham cracker. They melt the chocolate. One of them jumps into a blender and gets like splatted on the thing, and then you see him smile afterward. And I was like, is that how they get away with it? Is this like, well, one, they're marshmallows, and two, look, they're smiling. We're not really hurting them.
Yeah.
And then you had they're on a grill, and then one of them is walking, and as he's walking, he's melting into the grill. And then apparently, you said that he throws a thumbs up, which is a reference to Terminator 2. So I was like, yeah, all right, I'm okay with that. And then we see the dog, and the dog, we just said this, it does look scary. I like how scary the dogs look. And when he chases Paul Rudd out of the Walmart, Paul Rudd jumps through his windshield because it was already busted when they turned on the trap earlier in the movie. Jumps through his windshield, and then the dog attacks him. So this is how stupid my brain is. Like, oh, in the split second between you said, oh yeah, he's the keymaster. Like, before you said that, I go, oh man, they really just fucking murked Paul Rudd like that? Like, that's what I was thinking in my head. And then you said keymaster. I was like, right, because they get possessed. And yeah, that's what happened to Rick Moranis. And why isn't he in this movie?
He's taking care of his kids.
You're gonna tell me he can show up? He can show up for Ryan Reynolds' Mint Mobile commercial, but he can't show up to be in Ghostbusters Afterlife?
Yeah, but what would
Harold Ramis is dead, and he's in this movie.
What would he have been though? How would he?
You're right. But they fucking shoehorn in the receptionist.
That's fair. He could have probably been in the inn, and the spoiler when they're all at the firehouse.
Yeah, when they're
he could have
clearly
been there.
setting up the next movie.
Because was he a lawyer?
Oh, I can't.
Was he the lawyer or accountant? He was an accountant.
Can we talk about?
He was a poor accountant.
Can we talk about
they went out of business fast?
How great Rick Moranis is in that first movie? Because
how great Rick Moranis was in general.
Good dude. But just when he's throwing that house party and he's just so lame, I'm like, I've been that guy. You guys having a good time? Okay, all right. Don't have sex on my hammock. Don't. If you have a friend, if you're in college, if you're listening to this show and you're in college, which I know you are because overwhelmingly our listeners are in their 20s. If you're still in college, don't and your buddies in a fraternity, don't let them convince you to be a party house. Just don't do it.
It was fun.
It was fun until people they did clean up after themselves, so I'll give them that. But I'm just saying, I was mostly upset because
that was the cleanest your house
that was my daytime
afterwards.
hammock that I like to use sometimes, and I didn't want to have people fornicating on it. All right?
They were.
This review got off the rails quickly.
What were they? What were they informally? Oh my God! What would they just? You just said it. I have baby brain.
Formally? They were
the keymaster and the gatekeeper.
Yeah, so those people were meeting formally on my hammock.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't agree to this. I'll never forget that.
The secret handshake.
I'll get off this
sorts.
topic here after this, but I'll never forget because I think you were there that night when
the hammock one. Yeah.
When I went in there and they were, and I'll give the man credit. It was gonna be there were two women, so I was impressed. But I was just like, hey, what did I say? No banging on the hammock. I had one rule. And I think that was the same night you and I went to bed early and we could hear in the basement Luke start playing Prince and get booed. And then because it was hooked up to his phone, his headphone jack, you could hear it go punk. You could hear him take it out and be like, fuck you guys. Take it out and walk out. Point is, I was Rick Moranis. the shit. Anyway, back to Ghostbusters. You're right. I don't think you could have really put him in there. But yeah, I think the only way could have been like him getting called to be like, hey, I'm looking to buy this place or whatever. Just kind of going through. What did you think of the return of the OGs? We saw, and they did press, so we knew they're in it. But yeah, Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson, Dan Aykroyd all show up as kind of a Deus Ex Ghostbusters, but not quite, because that was another check in the box. Because in my head, and I know you thought the same thing because we talked about it when we got out of the movie, was I'm sitting there and I'm watching it and I'm like, okay, when do the other three show up? Because we've already had the conversation with Dan Aykroyd where he fills us in on what happened to the Ghostbusters since the first movie. I'm like, yeah, we did too good of a job. There were no more ghosts, so Venkman went off to do his school stuff that he was doing, and then Ernie Hudson started doing finance, and so he's a big financial advisor or whatever. I've been trying to keep this place going, but now the old firehouse is Starbucks,
but it wasn't.
But it wasn't. Yeah, they kind of negated that. I think it was like, okay? So then it was just a joke.
I don't know.
Or maybe I don't know. But what did you think?
Or it's a new firehouse.
What
Maybe it was a different
what did you think of them making their little appearance? I'm surprised it wasn't more, but I'm also glad it wasn't.
Yeah, I feel like it was enough. I don't know if I was surprised that it wasn't more, because honestly, like, they barely got Bill Murray to do it in the first place because he didn't want to do movies, another Ghostbusters in general, unless the script was good. I feel like the fact that it was Ivan Reitman's son maybe helped pull that in a little bit more. It was a decent script too, so I can't feel, but
yeah. Well, and Jason Reitman's a very good screenwriter. They show
up when they need to, and they're in it for as long as they need to be.
It does, yeah. I think overall in this,
because it keeps it about the kids. It keeps it about the new Ghostbusters.
If they had shown up and beaten her, I would have been like, well, that's stupid. Because you know what it would remind me of? It reminds me of when WWE brings back like fucking Goldberg or somebody, and they run through the new talent, like the young talent. I'm like, well, what was the point of that if you're going to spend this whole time building these guys up to just have these old dudes just show up and kill her and be done with it? I'd be like, oh, that sucks. Mm-hmm. I do love that they kind of play with the fact that that Gozer remembers them. Yeah. I do like that a little bit. Are you a god? Just say it, Ray. Say it. Yes, we are God. It makes you wonder, do you think Harold Ramis would have, if he would have been alive, do you think he would have came back?
Yeah. Why wouldn't he have? If everyone else did, why wouldn't you? Why would you be that person?
Yeah, why would you? Because Bill Murray was the only holdout for a while. And then I think Ernie Hudson was kind of... Also, I do think that this movie kind of, especially the end credits, kind of is like a little bit of an apology to his character, because he is the one that's the onus to get the Ecto-1 back and bring back the Ghostbusters. Because in the first movie, he's kind of an afterthought. Because, I mean, he wasn't even brought on in the script until, like, page 34 of the script. And, yeah, it's, like, halfway through the first movie, you're like, oh, there's Ernie Hudson. But, because he was a late addition anyway. Because I think it was supposed to be Eddie Murphy. And, yeah, I think Eddie Murphy was supposed to be his character.
Too big?
Yeah. I mean,
at that point?
Shit, you got Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Eddie Murphy in the same movie. There's no way you can afford that. Which one? I think
it's surprising that it was Harold Ramis anyway. I'm surprised it wasn't like Chevy Chase.
Well, because
Harold just pulled all the SNL characters.
Well, Harold Ramis co-wrote it with Aykroyd. Yeah, which would make and I think that's why the movie is so successful, because of Harold. I think Harold Ramis reeled Dan Aykroyd in, because I remember one of the first scripts, they were going to space at some point.
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd probably made that shit real weird.
Got that fast. Crystal Skull vodka, babe. Which, good on him. I was kind of waiting for like a Crystal Skull bottle to be in the background somewhere for him to promote it.
Everybody's got their alcohol promotions.
Yeah, I think it was done with a nice touch. I'm glad they weren't in as long as they were. I'm glad that they kind of showed up, and it was a symbolic passing the torch to Phoebe's character. And the moment where you cried, there's two moments I saw you cry, and I'm not even going to say it's baby brain. I think it's just you're just a sentimental person. Because there's the whole movie. Egon's daughter, she's like, he left us to come to this stupid dirt farm. He doesn't care about us. Blah 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 blah. And earlier in the movie, there's a sequence where Phoebe finds a secret little layer, because this is where we talked about where the movie picks up is when we start to have Egon's ghost kind of impact the story, shows her where to go, even operates a lamp, which I thought was pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
And shows her how to rebuild the proton pack, which is cute. And later in the movie, the mom does the same thing, finds it, and then she finds that there's a picture on his desk of her being a ballerina. And then there's a thing.
And then the light again.
Yeah, the
makes her
lamp
follow.
shows. Yeah, the lamp shows her where to go and like leads her over to a wall. And there's just pictures of her whole life. So he never stopped keeping, talking about her, thinking about it. He always had her on his mind.
But so I get him needing.
Also, I want to make it clear. Egon is a nut job to everybody because Egon says, we didn't finish the job. Gozer's going to come back is his whole thing.
The apocalypse will still happen.
Yeah,
We need to
Gozer's
make sure
still
we're
strong.
prepared.
Yeah, Gozer still exists or whatever. But anyway, so we saw all the pictures.
Why does he leave his family, though, entirely? Like, why couldn't he have brought them with? Do you think maybe his wife was like, you're crazy, like, leave kind of thing?
Well,
and then,
yeah.
or like, why does he never come to visit his daughter?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like
my guess and because it's a big reveal that Phoebe finds out that she's Egon's granddaughter, and
like
so her mom never told her. So I'm wondering, did they just try and keep that a secret from the rest of the family? But why did he leave? I don't know. That's a good question.
He probably leaves to set up everything. His wife is probably like, you're crazy kind of thing. We're not going to go with you. And she probably just makes him be shown in a bad light the entire time, which is why his daughter is just like, he's the worst.
You defeated a giant marshmallow man. Isn't that enough? And then he's like, no, it isn't. And
the apocalypse is coming.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. We're going to wrap things up here. I want to get back to the Harold Ramis ghost, the CGI ghost. I initially, in the moment when I saw the hand, now you cried at this moment, I was turned off for a second because I was like, because you see a ghostly hand and I'm like, really? And then, because I thought it was just going to be the hand. Because at the beginning of the movie, it's Egon, but they had a body double and they obscured his face because it was at night. And they kept finding ways to shadow his face, which I thought was clever. And then third act comes around and Phoebe's trying to wrestle Gozer into the trap and she's being guided by Egon. And then we get the reveal that it's his ghost. I'm glad, because I thought to you, I was like, well, if they're going to do this, go full hog, make him talk. Because you can make an AI Harold Ramis voice. We have that technology now.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah.
Because I already thought the CGI ghost in and of itself was tacky. And then adding the voice would have made it tacky. But you actually talked me out of it. You swayed me because you didn't think it was tacky.
I didn't.
Why did you think it worked for you? Because it could be, it's a fine line, I feel like.
He had to be in it. You can't bring back the Ghostbusters, not bring back him.
I mean, he's the central plot.
He would have been in it had he had not passed away in real life.
His ghost is the MacGuffin of the story because his ghost gets his granddaughter to find the secret lair and all the stuff. So
it's like not only is this a love letter to Ghostbusters, a love letter to that guy, to Harold Ramis.
And it does say for Harold at the end.
Yes. Which was his birthday yesterday.
And it's also good on, because I feel like that was planned. So good on whoever that was to say, let's release it the 19th. Because Harold's birthday is the 22nd.
21st.
Or 21st, so then people can see his birthday and all that. But you thought it was okay. You weren't kind of put off. But you cried even because you're like, damn, that hit.
I don't know. That wasn't necessarily the part that part made me cry. It was his daughter finally getting. She gets a hug from him.
Mm.
It's like their relationship has been like. I mean, she sees the picture. She
gets the closure.
She knows that he has always been watching for her, but this is why he was not there. This is what he was trying to do. He was trying to save the world.
Yeah.
He was trying to basically save her.
He always loved her.
Yes. So she gets that hug from him. That's what got me.
Yeah.
And then it's this is also like, and then he's like, he's dead in real life, and then his ghost like disappears, and it's also like, holy shit, like they're all really old, and like they're all gonna die. I don't
honestly,
know. I'm
I gotta
very
say,
upset when Bill Murray dies.
I gotta say, of the three of them, Bill's looking the worst. And damn, Ernie, man,
he aged well.
He did.
I don't know. I'll be upset when any of them die, but yeah.
I almost said the phrase, but I don't know if I'm allowed to as a white person,
It's
so I'm not gonna say it.
He aged well. He aged well. Dan Aykroyd, I feel like
that's such a white guy response. I don't know if I could say it, but he looks good.
He looks good.
We'll just put it that way. Dan Aykroyd surprisingly looks better. I mean, he's bulkier, but he's
Don't
big.
judge, man.
I'm a chunky boy. I can say that. Yeah, and I do like that. I think you also cried when Dan Aykroyd apologized to Harold. He's like, "I'm so sorry," but I think, to me, what made me okay with it and what made me come around to it was the fact that he interacted with all three of them, and I don't think those three would have signed on if they didn't want it to be in the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they would have said, no, this is too much.
Well, I guess that part might have made me tear up a little bit too, because it's like they get to talk to him as if he was there, even though he's not.
Even though when they're filming,
he's like one of their
even though they're filming, friends. There's nothing there, but they know that's their chance. Which is,
I feel like Dan Aykroyd tears up a little bit too when he says it.
Oh yeah, his voice cracks for sure, and I think that's a genuine response.
Yeah. Heartfelt, man.
Yeah.
It got me.
I think that was, it's funny that they did that too, because there was a draft of the third movie where it is a new team, and the original Ghostbusters are ghosts that help them, which I thought would have been kind of an interesting plot, but. I think it was Bill Murray who shot one of those ideas down. He's like, I don't want to be a fucking ghost.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be in it, make me human.
Yeah.
But also that is kind of something that you can do with this movie, is be like, well, it's about ghosts, so we could technically keep Egon in the movie doing ghost shit. Also, again, amazing restraint that they waited for that Harold Ramis reveal until the end of the movie, when they could have easily just had him in the movie, like,
before,
look down here, instead of being a lamp or something, which is smart that they did it that way, because because again, I think because it's as little as it isn't tacky. But if they would have had him just fucking walking around having a good old time, then it would have been a little bit much.
Yeah, but because when they leave Gozer out, it's like all of everything, all the evil,
all of the ghosts
the
go
dead,
back.
Yeah.
All they go to their resting place or whatever. I liked it a lot. I will say one thing that I did love about the end of this movie is they go into the lair, Gozer's lair, and they have dates. And they have different dates of human tragedies and catastrophes. And they have 1945. And they're like, what didn't happen in 1945? Which I was like, yeah, we all know that's a World War II reference. But then if you look at the end, it says 2021. Now, if you remember, this movie's supposed to come out in 2020. So I'm sitting there thinking, and I said this to you in the theater, I was like, well, they clearly digitally put a 1 on that wall. Like, just made it carved into there. Yeah, like a Sharpie. Real quick, sequel predictions. What do we think? Because we were in a packed theater. I have not seen the box office numbers, but I'm sure this made fucking gangbusters, and it's going to make even more money over Thanksgiving. Like, you can't tell me that if you haven't seen it this weekend, you're going to go see it with your family over Thanksgiving, I feel like. So they're going to make a sequel, and the post-credit scene is obviously setting up a sequel.
Yes, but if they the reason that the Ghostbusters stopped is because they didn't have any more ghosts in New York. They did their job too well, and if they defeated Gozer, would there be ghosts still? I mean, all the ones that got let out.
Because Gozer's the god of the dead that wants to walk amongst the living, right?
Yeah. So like when all of those souls escape after like Paul Rudd,
they go into the stars,
proton pack, and they all come out. And so like the big guy, the Cyclops guy, like you were saying, like the old guy in the coffee shop. So those are ghosts that let out. So are they out now? So they have to capture them.
I don't know.
Who's the bad guy now? Like you've already defeated Gozer twice, technically.
Yeah. I'm saying we should bring back the baby from Ghostbusters 2 and just say fuck it and do the plot of Ghostbusters 2 in the 4th Ghostbusters movie of the main canon. Or, hell, have fun with it. I wouldn't be against them bringing in Ghostbusters 2016 at some point and just doing because apparently everybody wants to do the multiverse shit. Why not just bring those guys in and be like, oh, yeah, they were...
Yeah, they won't do that.
But you can't because story-wise, you'd have to find a justification for them to exist. But
6 degrees of separation MCU. Chris Hemsworth's in that movie.
Yeah. I'm just saying, 6 degrees of separation MCU, the Ghostbusters multiverse. Let's do it.
No,
I'm already sick of it. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm excited for the Spider-Man movie. I'm excited for Doctor Strange, but I'm already over the multiverse shit. And it just started.
I don't think they should make another Ghostbusters.
I don't either.
I think they should end this one. I know that they probably will continue to go with it because I'm sure it's going to do well.
But this is a perfect
They
end.
pulled in a good cast, so if they do continue with it, I'm sure it'll be good. But
and the only way it's going to work is with Ivan and Jason Reitman again, because to me it's shown that those are the only the Reitman clan is the only ones that know how to do this properly. I think, and I think it only works because he had such an involvement from his dad with this production. But yeah, I agree with you. When I saw the ending and I saw the post-credits scene, I was like, I don't care. Like, it wasn't that I don't care. It was just like, this was a good enough ending for me. But at the same time, I understand that they brought in those kids, so they did have a way of being like, we could do this. Maybe in another 20 years, give me a Ghostbusters movie when they're grown up.
The kids are very young. Because, I mean,
Finn
the older
Wolfhard
brother
is like
15.
17. Well, in the story, he's like...
He's 15
he's
because
15.
she says he tells
he's
the
15. Oh,
which
16
we never
in
talked about
February.
that girl, the diner girl.
Yeah, I liked her too.
Yeah. He tells her that he's 17, and then the sister's like, "No, he's 15."
Yeah. Yeah, and her dad. That guy is such a good actor, and I hate to say this, but I think of him in my mind as not Dave Chappelle, because.
He does look like Dave Chappelle. I literally thought it was Dave Chappelle.
And he sounds like Dave Chappelle. But he's the shocker in Homecoming. And he does a bunch of work. He's a good actor, but every time I see him in movies, I think he's the guy, in the Spider-Man Homecoming, the guy who has the shock things on him. He gets iced by Michael Keaton. Is like, I didn't know that was gonna work. So then the black guy,
I literally went to
Electro.
Yeah, I was like, that's Jamie Foxx, bro.
Yeah,
I was like, you're.
But this guy is a good, solid character actor. But I only see him as not Dave Chappelle.
I literally don't know his name. I'm just like, that's the guy that's not Dave Chappelle.
If him and Dave Chappelle show up in a movie, I'm gonna be real fucking confused.
I'm really terrible. Hold on, we need to figure out what this guy's name is because that's just terrible.
It's just because his voice sounds like Dave Chappelle's voice too, is what throws me off. I'm like. Also, can we talk about?
Right, Bokeem Woodbine.
Yes, I know it was I knew it was a weird last name, but Bokeem Woodbine is actually a pretty solid actor. I don't mean to insult him by saying he's not Dave Chappelle, but. That's what my brain thinks. We're going to wrap this up. I think if they do a sequel, it absolutely is going to be... I feel like you have to do the same thing and take time and let them... I wouldn't mind seeing McKenna, whatever her name is, being Phoebe again as an older version, like 10 years down the road.
They won't do that.
But they won't because they got to make money now.
Well, they picked a good cast that they'll use them somehow. I mean, they got Paul Rudd.
Yeah. Paul Rudd, who doesn't age. Yeah. Anyway, thanks so much for listening to an episode. This is an hour and 8-minute long podcast. I have things to do and I'm running late. That's how much I love this movie. So yeah, I clearly we both love it. We spent an hour talking about it. We'll see what happens in terms of the next Ghostbusters and hopefully you have a good Thanksgiving. If you need Thanksgiving plans, go see Ghostbusters Afterlife. I know I've already spoiled it at this point, but it's still worth checking out. The love of my life, my lovely wife, the mother of my children, Ashley, thank you so much for finally doing this. Yeah. It's pulling teeth getting you to do this, but, you are slowly becoming a broadcaster, whether you like it or not.
I am the voice of a company, so I mean,
yeah, I let her voice some things production wise, and she's getting gigs over me, and I'm getting upset about it, honestly.
Maybe it's you just taught me so
You know,
well.
you know what I think of? I think of Anchorman. She's better than me.
Go back to your home on Whore Island.
You smelly pirate hooker. You know what? On that note, in the words of the immortal Stan Lee, vamp.
What?
Vamp for me. I'm pulling up. Do you know what vamp means?
Keep talking.
You call yourself a broadcaster and you don't know?
I'm not a broadcaster. I just have a great voice.
And that's it.
You stepped on Stan.
Oh.
Oh, I didn't show you this one. Did you hear the Venom laugh? What?
Was that Tyler? Because it sounds like
No,
Tyler.
it was the Venom from Spider-Man game.
I know it sounds like Tyler.
Hey Ashley, you know how much this podcast is gonna cost?
$1 million, bitch.
Well, this is how we end every episode.
You mean new material?
What?
I'll eat your ass. And that's it.